Dave Grossman is a loyalty program consultant, speaker, author, and credit card rewards expert. He runs milestalk.com, an online miles and points community, as well as the yourbestcreditcards.com credit card rewards optimization engine. Since 2003, he's earned and redeemed millions of miles and points and loves helping Miles Talkers plan once-in-a-lifetime trips using his techniques. One quick housekeeping note, David Grossman will be signing his book at the Books on Call bookstore across the corridor immediately following this session. Please join me in welcoming Jamie and Dave to the stage.
Okay. Wow, this is great to see so many people here that are interested in frequent flyer miles and points. Just to get a quick temperature of the room, how many of you guys have used frequent flyer miles and points? Thank goodness it was just about all of you. There are people that will fly and just not bother to credit the miles. But now, I'd love to know how many of you guys consider yourselves very into miles and points. Okay, there's like 20% of you, that's great. I guarantee that by the time we are done here, there's going to be one person that doesn't raise their hands on that, because when you see what the opportunities are with miles and points, you're not going to want to not understand how you can fly the way that we do. So, like we were introduced, my name is Dave Grossman. I write the blog milestalk.com, also run the Miles Talk Facebook community, where we talk about advanced tips and tricks on miles and points, and the credit card website, yourbestcreditcards.com, which is a rewards optimization engine where you type in what you spend on things and we tell you what your best cards are. I'm going to turn it over now to Jamie Larounis, who will introduce himself and get us started.
Hi guys, my name is Jamie Larounis. I own the Forward Cabin Consulting. I also write for a site called the Upgraded Points. I also work on a number of different projects called Frequent Travel University and the Loyalty Summit and a few other things. So I eat, breathe, and live miles and points. And you will too after this. So the first thing we're going to talk about here is why you should collect miles and points over cash back. I know a number of you guys probably have a cash back card that earns 1% or 2% back on all your daily purchases. We're going to focus today a little bit more on the miles and points side of things and the associated credit cards with that. We're also going to talk about how to maximize your miles and points. So I had a Meet the Experts panel a few hours ago, and a number of you were asking questions about, what's the value of miles and points? How do I maximize it? How do I know if I'm getting a good value? What airline should I fly? What destination should I go to? How should I search for rewards? We'll dabble in a little bit of that. And points and miles are much more valuable for first and business class tickets, and many times it can be cheaper than the price of economy. So we're going to focus a little bit today on those premium cabin redemptions and hopefully not sitting in the back of the plane.
Okay, so we're gonna alternate a couple of slides here that will show you why we do what we do and why, speaking for myself, why I'm absolutely insane about collecting miles and points. So the picture you're looking at now was a first-class trip to Tokyo on Japan Airlines, JAL. This was just an unbelievable experience. They were serving top-grade Wagyu A5 steak, Salon champagne. I actually drank a bottle of tea that was $100. The flight at the time, I remember looking, is there even a way you could get a discounted? This particular flight was going for $29,000 round trip, which is insane. And if any of you have no problem spending $29,000 on one flight, you can leave the room. You don't need to be here, just enjoy your Amex. But I spent $46 on this trip, and it was 160,000 miles at the time. So that was absolutely fantastic.
So the next product you'll see here is Qantas First Class. How many of you have flown Qantas? Oh, actually more hands than I thought. Qantas is my favorite airline, by the way. I will argue that to the death. I fly Qantas a lot. I love going to Australia, so this is kind of one of my favorite redemptions. This, as you can see here, is Qantas First Class. It's set up in a one by one configuration, so every seat has an aisle. They're big, plush, comfortable seats that turn into a bed. Nice in-flight entertainment, nice lounges, nice food on board, and I think the service is absolutely wonderful. Of course, these are some of the longest flights in the world, from either LA to Sydney, or Dallas to Sydney, or Melbourne, London to Perth, and now, of course, you're seeing all this stuff now with Project Sunrise, those flights from Sydney to New York. So obviously you want to be in the front of the plane on those flights, and hopefully not sitting in the back. These tickets on average cost about $15,000, sometimes a little bit more one way. Qantas knows they can get you for that type of flight distance, and this costs about $20 plus 110,000 American miles, so quite a value.
I'm going to second that. I absolutely love Qantas first class. They are in my top 3 first classes around the world, and once again, once you get really into this, you can have your own top 3 first classes around the world. It's not as crazy as it sounds. So this was Cathay Pacific first class. Fantastic food, fantastic seat. I know this a few years ago, so I'm a little younger. But the fantastic thing about this experience was that they actually have another seat, a little mini seat across from your seat. So if you're with a companion, you can actually dine for dinner together. I thought that was fantastic. Singapore. Okay, so this is Singapore first class. I just want to pause for a second and let you look at this. This picture is actually 2 seats together. So can you imagine you're going for your honeymoon and you and your special someone get to be on that for 17 hours or so? Absolutely amazing first class experience, and there is a door that closes on that as well.
And for those of you that are New Yorkers, by the way, you can also fly that flight from JFK to Frankfurt. So a totally oddball route. You don't need to go to Singapore. You can go to Frankfurt and experience that same exact thing from here.
Yep, I actually did that recently. I was trying to come home from Europe, and because I'm insane, I actually flew from Estonia to Frankfurt just so I could catch a first class flight from Frankfurt to New York. So this is one of my favorite redemptions of all time. It's the Etihad first class apartment. So you might not be going to Abu Dhabi, but consider that you can fly this to or from Abu Dhabi when connecting somewhere else. So last year I flew this connecting, actually from Australia. We went from Australia to Abu Dhabi. We slummed it in business class. And then we got into the first class apartment for the ride home from Abu Dhabi. And they partially connect. So we actually had 2 of these with a wall that's semi-connected in the middle. So we were able to basically be together in one ginormous apartment. There is an onboard chef. So if you have certain dietary requirements, etc., there is a menu, but you can customize it if they have the ingredient on board. And he's very, very particular about getting you what you want. So this one happens to be just, in my opinion, one of those best aspirational redemptions. Oh, one more thing, there's a shower. So, maybe if you've been flying for 10 hours, you're a little bit sweaty, no problem, just ask the attendant to prepare your shower. Now, we stay places also.
So this is the Park Hyatt Sydney, so going back to the Australia theme, so once you've spent $15,000 on your first class ticket down, or $40 like I did, this is the Park Hyatt Sydney, probably considered one of the best hotels in Sydney. I wish I could show you the view here out of the right-hand side. So this is their Opera Deluxe room. Right outside this window is a direct unobstructed view to the Opera House, and to the right is an unobstructed view of the Sydney Harbor. So if you Google reviews of this is by far one of the best rooms to stay at the Park Hyatt Sydney. On average, this room basically runs about $1,100. During the peak season right now, you can run easily about $2,000 a night at this hotel. This was completely free, literally free, not even any taxes, 30,000 Hyatt points a night. So just by signing up for the World of Hyatt credit card, for those of you that are familiar with that, that's at least one free night at this hotel, which can easily run about $2,000 in value.
Okay, now one of my favorite hotel experiences ever. Are you ready for it? I don't want to make you too jealous, but I do want to inspire you. This villa in the Maldives, to which you could fly that Etihad apartment, they do connect there. This Maldives beach villa has a ticket price of about $1,500 a night, plus tons of taxes. To stay there 5 days would cost you, depending on the season, somewhere between $8,000, $10,000, $12,000. And we didn't pay anything. 240,000 Marriott points. That was last year. Now they've increased. It's still 340,000 Marriott points. you could collect that. If you were going on a honeymoon, this would not be a problem, and you could have that for free. And I want to say that, in terms of the average person isn't just going to build up infinite miles, but when it comes to saving up miles and points for special occasions like a honeymoon, you can absolutely make a plan, open a handful of credit cards, do the right moves, and have enough for your flights and your hotels for a once-in-a-lifetime experience. And just to sum up, this is what we pay on an average redemption in all of the things that we just showed you, handful of taxes and fees.
So today we're going to talk about a number of credit card strategies that are going to help you redeem for that Park Hyatt Sydney or that W Maldives or the Etihad residence, actually not the Etihad residence, or the apartments. So you can easily get there. This is not something that is totally unobstructed. It's something every single person in this room can do. It is perfectly attainable. So for those of you thinking, no, I'll never be like those two guys on stage, think again. This is something that every single one of you in these seats can do. So the first thing we're going to talk about, we're going to kind of take a step back and talk about the three types of credit cards that are out there for the purposes of redeeming for award travel and maximizing your travel experience. The first card is a card that earns points in a single loyalty program. So many of you probably have a United card with Chase, a World of Hyatt card with Chase, a Barclay card that earns American Airlines miles, a Delta Amex. Those earn miles specifically within that single program. Delta, United, American, Southwest, whatever it is. You cannot transfer those points to someone else. We'll talk about booking awards with those United miles on another partner in a little bit, but you can't directly transfer those to anyone else. You're earning it in a single loyalty program. Sometimes that's not a bad thing. The second card we're going to talk about here is a card that earns transferable rewards. So this type of card, you earn a bank currency, or in one case it's a hotel currency, that can be then transferred out to a number of different partners. Sometimes each of these banks has about 10 partners, but from there, each of those 10 partners partner with someone else. So you can talk about 30, 40, 50 different companies and opportunities just out of a single transferable rewards currency. A card like that would be the Chase Sapphire Preferred or the Amex Gold, for example. Obviously not limited to just this list. These are just some examples. The final card we're going to talk about is a credit card you keep for the tangible benefits and not just for the rewards. So that might be something like an American Express Platinum card. Earns pretty terrible rewards overall, but it does allow you into some lounges and some experiential things. Also a City Executive Advantage card that gets you Admirals Club access with American Airlines. The point earning is overall not great in comparison to other cards, but it does get you lounge access with American, which you may find valuable depending on what city you live in. So having a card just for the benefits, if you kind of fit into that last category there of having an Amex Platinum or one of the cards that has lounge access. Lounge access is probably one of the biggest reasons you hold a card, so when you're kind of sitting at that gate in a delay post or something like that, you definitely want lounge access. Now, it's not all about the free champagne, it's not all about, the little cheese cubes in the corner. Those of you that know the United clubs and American clubs know exactly what I'm talking about, or the snack tower of sadness, as I've heard it referred to. There are some perks, I don't know that I would consider that one of them. The biggest access that you'll have with lounge access is access to an agent. So when your flight cancels, you're on United, you're on Delta, you're on American, wink wink, your flight cancels, you need to see an agent quickly to be able to rebook. That's the biggest perk you can have with lounge access. If you're going to get a credit card that has that, know that that's the reason you're getting it. You're not getting it for the cheese cubes, you're getting it for the person sitting behind the desk that you can talk to quickly. Some cards come with an airline fee credit, such as the Chase Sapphire Reserve. It comes with a travel credit. Literally, you're just purchasing an airline ticket and you're going to get that reimbursed right back to you, kind of offsetting the annual fee of that card. Some cards come with automatic elite status. So your Amex Platinum, for example, comes with national executive status for car rentals, Hilton Gold status. So it's a way to kind of bump up your status at a hotel chain, an airline, a car rental, without having to meet the normal requirements for earning that status. Another benefit is hotel perks such as Amex Fine Hotels. That specific program earns $100 credit for every stay that you're at. You get a late checkout, complimentary Wi-Fi, a complimentary upgrade. So if you don't have status at a particular chain, you may consider booking through one of these aggregate services through premium credit card. And the final thing is an annual recurring bonus or free night, which can be, aside from lounge access, one of the other huge benefits of these type of cards. The Hyatt card, for example, gets a free category 1 through 4 night every single year. So every year you just go to 7-Eleven, buy a Slurpee, keep your card active, and you're getting a free night at a category 1 through 4 property every single year. That's pretty much the same on every hotel branded card. There's some sort of an annual recurring point bonus or an annual free night to keep you interested. And of course, if you maximize that certificate at a property that would normally be valued several hundreds of dollars, and you only pay a $75 annual fee, you come out ahead.
And I'll add one thing to that. Are there any people in this room, we just do a quick show of hands, that absolutely refuse to pay an annual fee on a credit card? Yeah, I knew there were some holdouts. So, I was once one of you, and my opinion was always, I'm spending on this credit card, you're making money off of the fees, swiping it, why in the world would I pay an annual fee? I currently now have at least 10 cards that I pay an annual fee on that go as high as $550 a year, and I am proud of that, and the reason is, I've done the math on every single one of those, I come out ahead. I am getting more than the annual fee, whether it is for the free night or some other very tangible benefit, not something I may or may not get, but a tangible benefit, I'm coming out ahead. Of course, the credit card companies don't want me, they don't want the people that are coming out ahead, but if you do the math, you can come out ahead. So if you're one of those people that just, hands down, I don't care, I won't pay an annual fee, I can guarantee you 1,000,000,000% that you are leaving actual money on the table because you're not spending a little bit to get a lot bit. Sorry. So, the first thing now when we actually talk about flying and accruing miles and spending miles, the very most basic thing to keep in mind are airline alliances and airline partners. And I'm going to come back to this phrase that I use called frequent flyer program arbitrage, or frequent flyer mile arbitrage. And it's my favorite thing in the world, so that's going to come up a few slides later. But the first thing to know is airline alliances. So if you are an American Airlines flyer here, then your airline is in the One World Alliance. And American partners with plenty of airlines in their One World Alliance. For instance, British Airways, for instance, Qantas, for instance, Japan Airlines, we're all in the same alliance. If you fly United, Star Alliance is your alliance, and if you fly Delta, SkyTeam is your alliance. So all three of those airlines are in alliances of a dozen or more other airlines. But there's also something called partners that are not alliance partners. So we have 3 examples here. If you have a boatload of American Airlines miles and you're, say, going to Bora Bora or Moorea in Tahiti, you might not be aware, because it is not immediately obvious, that you can use your American Airlines on Air Tahiti Nui. Air Tahiti Nui is not in the One World Alliance, but they are a partner. Likewise, Aer Lingus is part of the Avios program, which is part of British Airways, so you might think that they're in One World, but they are not. They are a partner of United, however, and they'll come up right on the United website. You can use your United miles to fly Aer Lingus. There are some sweet spots, and there might be reasons why you might want to use British Airways Avios, and there might be reasons why you want to spend United. Likewise, if you're flying Aer Lingus, you have your choice of where you want to credit that. And one of my favorites is Delta. Virgin Atlantic is not in any alliance currently, but you can use your Delta miles to fly Virgin Atlantic, and likewise credit Virgin Atlantic flights to Delta. Virgin has just released their new A350 aircraft with amazing upper class seats, and you can use your Delta miles to book that. There are other ways to earn miles. So a lot of times I hear, Dave, I don't fly enough. I'm never going to earn enough miles. I fly 10,000 miles a year, and you're talking about a redemption that's 140,000 miles. In 14 years, will these even exist? They will. They might exist differently, but that's not the point. Let me go over a few ways that you can earn miles without stepping foot on a plane. Because you could do this hobby, never fly revenue, earn plenty of miles, and redeem them for fantastic trips, and have the only time you get on a plane when you're not paying for it. The first one is airline shopping portals. So the next time you're going to buy a computer, you can look in the airline shopping portals to see what kind of miles you can earn. I'll give you an example. I just bought a Macintosh laptop last year, an Apple laptop. And Alaska was running a promotion. Alaska miles, don't get me started, but they're fantastic miles. Most people here will think about it because they're not big on the East Coast, but they have great redemption partners. So I accumulate those more than anything else. And I earned 10 times miles on my purchase. 10 times. So it was a $2,000 laptop and I earned 20,000 miles. That is, believe it or not, 1/3 of a first-class ticket to Asia, one way. But still, amazing. Those require you to actually think, right, before you buy, but it's very easy to do. The next one is the dining program. So every single major airline is part of a dining program. They're all run by the same company. It's called Rewards Network. So you just pick whichever airline you fly the most, you sign up for their dining program, you'll find it right on their website. There's usually even a bonus for signing up. And then you link all of your credit cards. And whenever you go out to eat, you can actually use their guide and only go places that are in miles, and that's what they want you to do, of course. But nothing we do is what they want you to do. You just put all of your credit cards in there, and then sometimes you go and eat out, and you get home and it says, you earned 700 miles. Well, fantastic. I was just eating there anyway, that was great. Those can actually really add up. Those would be tens of thousands of miles in a year. There's a new way to earn miles, which is from banking. You might have money sitting in your savings account. You could have $50,000 sitting in a savings account earning absolutely nothing, and you could be earning 50,000 miles a year if you had that in a bank called Basque Bank. They offer miles instead of interest. Now, to someone who doesn't know what to do with miles, that might not be optimal, but to all of us who are learning exactly what to do with these miles, you can earn, in my estimation, and I've done some math on this, 5 times the rewards just by using them for first and business class flights. So that's method number 3. And method number 4 is probably the biggest one that you always hear about, which is credit card bonus offers. And in the United States, where the competition is fierce, and by the way, in other countries, they are not this lucky, but in the United States, which is its own market with tons of competition, the credit card issuers fall all over themselves trying to get you as a customer. And that means that you can be earning 50, 100,000 miles just for opening a credit card and meeting a minimum spend within the first 3 months. That minimum spend could be as little as $1,000. There's a handful of cards, you just have to make one purchase, and it could be $5,000 in 3 months. Never open it unless they're going to meet that spend anyway through whatever your bills are. Of course, you can move forward some payments to your utility company or something. So never get into debt with these cards, never pay interest on these cards. They're high interest cards, but if you're paying your bills every month, these bonus offers are absolutely insane and will get you in the products that we were showing you.
So next off here, we're going to talk a little bit about tools of the trade. So I've got one tool here that's not listed that I think is really important, and that's your brain. Sorry to be obvious. So some of these tools, these are all tangible things, right? Websites and products you can use. You do have to do a little bit of research, and I expounded a little bit on this during the Meet the Experts panel before. You've got to use your head when booking these awards. This is not meant to be easy. There was a New York Times quote that I was in a few months ago that said, you need a PhD to interpret the miles and points world. And in some cases, you really do need what's close to a PhD to figure all this out. So before a little bit, Dave was talking about, remember American Airlines partners with Air Tahiti Nui. Did you know that Air Tahiti Nui flies from Los Angeles to Paris? Probably none of you knew that. How many of you know that Air China flies from Houston to Panama City? There's a bunch of oddball routes out there. Some folks didn't know that there's a cheap business class airline based out of Newark called La Compagnie that consistently has $1,000 or $1,500 business class fares to Europe. Do your research, ask around, and kind of get this knowledge, because that'll really help you find that award availability when you're looking. So let's look at a few products here. And by the way, we have no business relationships with any of these. These are simply tools that both Dave and I use kind of day to day to find awards and to make it through the world of miles and points. So the first thing is a service called Award Wallet. Award Wallet tracks all of your program balances. So you have your Hyatt account, your Marriott, your Hilton, your American, your Southwest, all of these different accounts. You probably forget how many points you have in each one. You probably forget when they expire, and you certainly don't want to create an Excel sheet because that's just manual labor at that point, and every time something posts to your account, you then have to update it. Award Wallet will log into each one of your accounts, keep track of that program balance, and then you can figure out where to use those awards from there. There's a site called Where to Credit. So when you're flying on that Alaska Airlines flight, or you're flying on that Kenya Airways flight, or Aeroflot, even some obscure airlines, and you don't know where to credit that flight to earn miles, this site will actually help you and determine what airline alliance, what program is best to credit that flight. Not all airline programs are created equal. You may earn more with one airline than another airline, and they may be in the same alliance. You may be earning more for a specific economy class seat or business or first class. There's different multipliers. It's a whole different science that this Where to Credit site can interpret for you. The next one is Award Hacker. This will let you see what miles you need for what specific flights. So if you want to fly from JFK to Paris, this will let you know all of the different options that you have to fly from JFK to Paris using miles. The one caveat to this is that it will not show you award availability. So this tool you will need to use in conjunction with something else. That may be you looking on the airline's website to find availability. That may be using another service. Whatever it might be, this will simply show you how many miles you need, not if the space is there. The next site is called Expert Flyer. I swear by Expert Flyer. It's $99 a year, or I think $8 a month. It's a paid service that will search over a broad set of dates, specific fare classes, specific award availability, even specific seats. So let's say you're not even using miles and points. You've got a cash ticket on a specific flight, and all that was left is middle seats. You can set an alert through this site when a window or aisle seat opens up, or even a specific seat. It'll alert you, and then you can go in and, of course, move that seat. It's really, really valuable. The other thing you can do is, let's say you're looking for a specific flight on a specific date. You want to leave on June 1st, and you want to go to Paris from New York. There's nothing available. You can set an alert through there, and as soon as Expert Flyer finds an award seat, it will ping you, it will email you and text you, and let you know, and from there you can make that call. Another similar service, KBS availability tool, very similar premise to Expert Flyer. It searches some same airlines and some different airlines, essentially the same service owned by a different company and a different search structure. And the final thing is a site called Cashback Monitor. So for those of you that are accumulating miles and points, it's best to also get some cash back with that too. And like going through an airline shopping portal, you can go to this site. It will tell you what websites will allow you to get more cash back. So for example, 2%, 4%, 5%. What stores have more mileage multipliers? So Dave was buying that laptop. The Cashback Monitor will allow you to see that at any one time to see which website is best to go with, where you can earn more miles and points. So there's a few quick tips here how to save big on business class. And I got a lot of questions on this before, so these are kind of some tricks here. So the first thing is, how many of you are AARP members? Let's see a show of hands. All right, how many of you are over the age of 65? How many of you are under 65? Okay, good. I'd like to see that. So I have AARP. I'm 29 years old. I'm being totally upfront with you. I have an AARP membership. I send the magazine to my parents. Sorry, Mom and Dad. But I have an AARP membership. Anybody can have a membership. It will save you big on economy and business class airfares with British Airways. You can save up to $200 each way on business class. When combined with a fare sale, so when British Airways discounts their business or first class product, you can then use that AARP in conjunction with that. For those of you that have a Chase card with British Airways that gives you 10% off any flight, that can be used in conjunction with that discount. Very easy, it's 15 bucks a year, it can save you immensely. Actually, as of yesterday, that discount can also be used on what's called a code share. So traditionally, that can only be used on British Airways flights. Now that can also be used on American, Iberia, any other code share that British Airways operates. The next thing is American Airlines vacations, but you can use the same logic here for both Delta and United. So what they'll allow you to do is book both a airfare and a hotel in a single vacations package. So using the example we were going with before, going to Paris, they'll sell you a discounted airfare in business class and a hotel that is less than the cost outright for that business class ticket. It's an easy way to save. You don't have to stay in the hotel, by the way. It'll allow you to select pretty much any hotel you want. My recommendation is that you just go with the cheapest hotel if you intend on keeping the airfare only, or you can certainly stay in that hotel, but there's no obligation. It will save you huge amounts of money off of what the cash price of a business class ticket is. Google Flights is invaluable. It will allow you to search different routings and play with different connecting airports, different alliances, different price ranges. It will not let you book directly on Google Flights, which is actually kind of nice. They have no stake in the game. They're just going to send you right to American's website, United's website, Delta's website, and let you purchase from there. Next one is consolidator airfares. Best thing here, rather than kind of expounding upon it, is just Google a consolidator airfare company. Basically what happens is they purchase business and first class tickets in bulk, and then you purchase that ticket through them at a discounted rate. And the final site is a site called ITA Matrix. It's owned by Google. It's actually being phased out, but for now it's still alive. It will basically allow you to do anything you want with a ticket. So if you want to fly in a specific class on one leg, and then another class of service on another leg, and another airline on another leg, it will allow you to manipulate that. I will be upfront with you, it is a pretty advanced tool, so for those of you that have kind of graduated through the ranks and you feel like you know what you're doing, ITA Matrix is a great software.
Okay, I'm going to give one quick caveat on the consolidator airfares. Most consolidator airfare companies are doing exactly that. They're buying in bulk. They're able to offer, they have a unique relationship where they're consolidating. There are a handful of companies out there, however, that will try and buy people's miles and put you on their mileage ticket. You should not ever do this. If someone alludes that they do this and they say, but don't worry, it's safe, say thanks but no thanks, because you might turn up at the airport and they ask you, how do you know this person that booked the ticket? And you don't have a good answer, they will cancel your flight and you will not be taking that flight, guaranteed. So,
on the flip side, don't sell your miles
Never
and sell
sell.
your upgrades either. You will be shut down.
they will take your account away from you forever. Okay, talk about redeeming points. So, obviously this could be a whole other seminar. I wish we could have 9 seminars on this, but let me just give you an example about how I start redeeming points. So, I skipped a slide, I'm sorry. How do we do this? When flying, you want to stick to one airline alliance, right? So like, if you fly American a lot and then you're going to Europe, you might try and take a British Airways flight or a Finnair flight because they're all in one world. And that will allow you to build up your elite status. Once you get to 25,000 miles on any carrier, you will have some advanced benefits like being able to book exit rows, maybe priority check-in, free checked bags, all of these things. So it makes sense for that reason, and also just if you don't fly a ton, accumulate in one spot, because the redemptions that are great are not the ones that are 5 or 6 or 8,000 miles for the most part. They're the ones that are 50 or 70,000 miles. So you want to really be able to accumulate. When you're redeeming, it's the same thing. You're looking at partner redemptions. Fun fact, the US airlines seem to, I don't have the exact data with me, but they seem to make the least premium award space available. So Delta, American, United, good luck getting a first or business class flight on them to Asia or Europe even. However, a lot of their partners have much better availability. And do you care if you're flying on United or if you're flying on Lufthansa? Probably not, as long as you have a bed and someone's serving you a nice 3-course meal. So you always want to check into the partners. You want to learn about, like we were saying before, the partners that are not even alliance partners. And so when I'm booking, the first thing that I do is I do use Google Flights, and I figure out, okay, I want to go to Frankfurt from New York. What are my best options? The first thing I want to know is who flies there nonstop. Of course, Lufthansa will come up number 1. But who flies there nonstop, so I can then work backwards to figure out what miles I need, and then work backwards to what credit card points do I have to transfer into the programs that I need for the lowest, cheapest redemption on that flight that I want. And that's why I say always look for arbitrage. So the most important thing, if I leave you with one thing, it is building a bank of diversified transferable currencies. That's credit card points. So that's your Amex points, your Citi points, your Chase points, your Capital One points, and to a degree Marriott points, because they're a hotel program that actually transfers to more airline programs than any of the credit cards. But they're the hardest to accumulate, so I don't focus on them. Because that way, when you figure out where you want to go and you find out which airline has availability, you can transfer to that airline. If I want to go to Frankfurt and I see great availability on Lufthansa and I only have Delta Sky miles, I can't book it. That's unfortunate. But if I've got Chase Ultimate Rewards points, those transfer to United, boom, I booked the flight. So that's what's important to really keep in the back of your head. If you only earn one airline mile, you're not going to be able to book that flight on the other alliance. And we will take questions at the end of this, by the way, as I know it's complicated. So you'll use the award hacker that he showed you before. That's not going to give you the availability, so go check the availability. And here's one more little nuance. If at all possible, especially when you're starting out in this, you see a flight that's available and you're about to transfer all your points over to Air France Flying Blue to make that redemption, try calling them. Call the Air France and say, I see this flight, I'd like to take this flight. Can you please confirm that you do see 2 business class seats available, because I think I do. And let them confirm that. And if possible, ask them to hold the flight. A lot of times they will put an award flight on hold for you for 1 or 2 days while you transfer your points. Not all of them will. You can Google which airlines do and which don't, and also which points transfer instantly versus which points can take many, many days to transfer, during which time that availability that you found might not be there anymore. So that's super important to remember. If they can't hold it for you, at least they can confirm the availability, because there's, to use a technical term, it's called phantom award availability, where you'll be all the way through to checking out, and then it gives you an error, and you call in and they say it's not available. And that's the worst feeling in the world if you've already transferred 180,000 points out of your Amex account. So frequent flyer mile arbitrage, absolute favorite thing in the world. The exact same flight, and I'm not saying the same route, I'm not saying from New York to London, I'm saying the exact same flight can cost different amounts of miles depending on how you book it. So one quick example, a transcontinental flight on Delta might be currently being priced at 105,000 Delta miles. And then you go over to Virgin Atlantic and find out you can book that exact same flight for 22,500 miles. Well, I'd rather book the one that's 1/5 of the price. Now, there's things to consider like availability and whatnot. Delta's actually become very confusing. I was looking to go from Amsterdam to New York recently, and I found flights that were pricing at 320,000 miles on Delta, one way, one seat. And I thought, well, for sure this isn't going to be available on their partner. No, Air France Flying Blue had it available. I believe it was 63,000 miles. So you just have to check. I'll give you an example. If you wanted to go to Taipei, I know this is going to be really hard to see, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. But what it's showing you is, this is a word hacker, by the way. So it's not showing real-time availability. None of these may be available, but it's your starting point. It shows you which flight or which airlines frequent flyer programs will cost how much, operated by what airline or the entire alliance, and which partners transfer there. And this will really help you dissect what is the best value for the route. So it's a 1-2, right? It's a starting point. You know now to go in order. Okay, well, in this program, if it's available, what points do I have that can transfer there? And you just go down the list until you find the best one. But you know, if my first time checking, I see something that's going to cost 150,000 miles, and I go over a word hacker, and I'm like, wait, there's an airline where that same flight's 75,000 miles. Well, you better believe I'm going to see if I have some points that I can transfer over to that. So again, let me just remind you that a word hacker does not show availability. I would say in the Miles Talk Facebook group, one of the biggest things that I get is, I found this on a word hacker, it's only 60,000 miles, but I can't book it. And the answer is because it's not available. It's not checking that. It's not broken, it's just not checking that at all. Surcharges are another thing. You may have heard the phrase fuel surcharges. And these came into being back when oil was, getting up to 150 miles, everything's miles, $150 a barrel. Now, when oil fell into the 40s, do you think they got away with fuel surcharges? Of course not. It's just a fee that they charge now. So now they actually removed fuel from the component of the fare that's called YQ if you're a travel agent. It's just a surcharge now. And certain airlines are notorious for adding these onto award bookings. British Airways is, in my opinion, the most egregious. You'll see one way to go over to Europe and they slap $800 on your redemption. No thanks, I'm gonna pass on that. So Award Hacker won't show you those surcharges. You're gonna have to do your math a little bit, but just as a really quick example, if you were flying Lufthansa first class to Europe, which is a very nice experience, only United and a program called Avianca, which are transferable from a bunch of different currencies, will not charge surcharges on that route. United will also cost about 30,000 miles more than Avianca, but you might not have Avianca miles and you have a ton of United miles, but both of those won't charge surcharges. If you tried to book that same one through Aeroplan, you'd pay about $600 going there and about $300 coming back. So really important to think about.
All right, so let's talk a little bit back to the credit cards thing. We've talked ad nauseum here about acquiring transferable currencies. So another message that you can kind of take with you today is don't accumulate in one program, accumulate in those Chase Ultimate Rewards, those Amex membership rewards, Citi thank you points, or for those of you that stay in Marriott's Marriott Bonvoy points. All of those are transferable currencies. They can be used on another carrier or another hotel. Transferable currency is the key to award redemptions. When you're locked into just United and you see that Air France redemption open up, you're stuck, as Dave said. Single airline programs have you locked into that one alliance. Bank points can be moved where the opportunity and arbitrage is best. Get them all. Try to accumulate as many of those as possible. And optimize what you transfer based upon arbitrage opportunities, your personal banks, and how you will replenish them. So one of the things to keep in mind is that most bank points, Amex membership rewards, Chase Ultimate Rewards, they will consistently have bonuses to transfer those points out. So you may see a 25% bonus on British Airways Avios. So when you transfer Chase Ultimate Rewards to Avios, you'll get a 25% bonus on top of whatever the normal transfer ratio is. Keep on those bonuses. That's just free miles coming your way, and it'll cost you less for an award redemption. Get a few sign-up bonuses, even in one currency, and you are golden. So if you can get, let's say, 3 cards that accumulate Chase Ultimate Rewards, and you accumulate, let's say, 150,000 points, that's enough for a very decent ticket in a premium cabin, or, for example, multiple economy redemptions. Don't ignore economy redemptions. I know we focus on the suites and all the doors and all the fancy mattresses and stuff, but economy tickets can be very expensive. Think of that example to Australia. While first class is $15,000, you can easily see coach at $1,500, $2,000, depending on the time of year. So certainly those miles and points can be used for economy strategically. So if we're talking about a Chase Sapphire Reserve, a Chase Freedom, and a Chase In card, the traditional sign-up bonuses you'll see up on the screen, usually 50,000 points for the Reserve, 15,000 for the Freedom, and 80,000 for the In. That can change, but on average, that's your traditional sign-up bonus for either one of those cards. That's 145,000 points in sign-up bonuses, plus 9,500 points to meet the minimum spend. Remember, you're earning at least 1 point per dollar on that minimum spend, so that's not counting any bonus categories, that's not counting anything extra. That's just a minimum you'd possibly earn based upon 1 point per dollar. At minimum, you're getting 154,500 Chase Ultimate Rewards points, and that is worth, at minimum, $2,300 towards travel. So who's kind of happy with that? If you had $2,300 right now, and I kind of wrote you a check with those Chase Ultimate Rewards points, would you be happy? Yes? Show of hands. Show of hands. You realize I'm about to prove you wrong, right?
Because of course you are. It's $2,300. You did nothing. You got $2,300. We all love free money. But there is more. And so by learning how to do strategic transfers of these points, you can get way more than that. So even if you don't want to put a ton of time into these, that's the base level you can get. But in this example, you got those 3 credit cards. Maybe it took you a year, whatever. Now you've got those points. Top those up, you need about $10,000 more in spend, less if you're taking advantage of bonus categories. You got 240,000 Chase Ultimate Rewards saved up. You find some availability, you transfer over, and you are lying in this. And so we're tying it back into showing you that this is really accessible. This is not, people see us do this and they're like, I wish I could do that like the way you do. You can do it the way we do it. And that's why I'm so glad that the New York Times was able to have us in here to do this for you. We're not done yet, but thank you. We're getting there. We're very close because I know I want time for Q&A. I just wanted to show you a couple of the cards in our wallet, and then we're going to take Q&A in just 2 seconds. All of these are in my wallet, and except for the last two. And I gotta tell you, my wallet needs to be replaced on a regular basis because I do have the best cards for every category. But the Chase Sapphire Reserve for 3 times on travel and dining, Amex Gold for 4 times on groceries. For my business, the Blue Business Plus by Amex, 2 times on everything. It's so easy. City Prestige, 5 times points on dining. By the way, I value all of these points at more than 1 cent each. So in my opinion, I'm getting almost an 8% rebate on every time I go to the restaurants, which is fantastic. Jamie uses the World of Hyatt credit card and the American Executive card. You want to talk about why you use those?
So if I repeated the same cards as David, then obviously there'd be no fun in the slide. So I like to put loyalty in single programs, as we kind of explained. Hyatt's my go-to hotel chain. American's my go-to flying partner. So I like to accumulate more points in those programs because I know how to use them and I stay there often. So kind of taking a little bit of a 180 look at that.
Okay, and the last thing I want to talk about is bonus categories. So I mentioned at the beginning, I run a website called yourbestcreditcards.com. The reason that I built this website is because everyone would always ask me, Dave, which credit card should I get? Which is the best credit card for me? And the answer is that it depends. And the reason it depends is because all of the credit cards, remember I was talking about all that competition in the United States? They're all falling over themselves with those bonuses and also with bonus categories. So 4 times at the supermarket, 5 times at a restaurant, all of these things. So which ones offer the best for how you spend? It's really important that you figure that out because that's how you're gonna maximize ongoing. You can only get so many bonuses. So earning the most, if you're earning 1 times on dining when you could be earning 5 times on dining over years, that's a business class trip, that's a first class trip. I'm going to close right after Jamie tells us what he's working on.
So obviously this is our contact slide here. We're going to tell you just a little bit, obviously this is the end of the presentation, don't want to
But we're doing Q&A.
We're going to answer some questions here. Feel free to screenshot this, take a picture, that kind of stuff. You'll see both of our Twitter handles up there, Instagram handles, and both of our emails. I own a site called theforwardcabin.com. I write upgraded points. We do in-depth articles about how to redeem points in different airline products and operations. I also do a site called pointssimplify.com, points, plural, simplify.com. That will actually help you book your awards. So if you're kind of stuck, if we totally overwhelmed you today, you can pay to have me look at those awards and actually book them for you. And it kind of takes the hassle out of it if you've got all these points and you don't know what to do with them. And then I also run a series of seminars, help run a series of seminars called Frequent Traveler University. If you really like what you learned today, March 7th and 8th in Washington, D.C., it's close by. You just take the Amtrak down there. It'll be 2 full days of these sessions. So delving into specific programs, specific credit cards, specific alliances, specific awards. This is just the icing on the cake. There is so much more underneath the water here to delve into, and it's 2 full days of these sessions, similar to the New York Times Travel Show, but for frequent flyer junkies.
Okay, now, before anybody walks out, I want to let you know I have a little freebie for all of you on your way out. Created a sticker sheet that you can put to peel off bonus categories to put on the back of your credit card. So if you're that person that can never remember, this is the credit card that I use for 5 times on dining or 4 times on groceries, please take one of the sticker sheets on your way out. My lovely fiance at the back table has a big stack of them. They're free. You can put them on all of your cards. Some people find them really invaluable, especially if you're really into it, you have a spouse that isn't, you can label their cards. That's number 1. Number 2 is, I was doing a book signing across the hall for my book, Miles Talk, Live Your Wildest Dreams Using Miles and Points. I will be doing a short second book signing after this. In order to the book, it's an 80-page, 2-hour read, Introduction to Miles and Points, that will summarize everything we talked about here today, plus more. And lastly, I'd love for you to read milestalk.com for sure. We have a Miles Talk Facebook group that has just the most gracious miles and points people you can imagine. We talk about everything, so I would love to see you in the group. And also, want to continue to be inspired by Instagram. Every time I go somewhere, I like to make people jealous, and then I like to tell you how you can do it yourself. So now we have about 10 minutes for Q&A.
Thank you.
There's a microphone up here, guys, in the center aisle, so if you wouldn't mind, if you've got a Q&A, don't raise your hand, just line up at that mic, and we're just going to go right in order. If you can try to keep it to 1 question, no comments or statements or anything like that, just an actual question that we can answer, that would be most appreciated.
Thank you. I get 2% back on my
the credit card thing, how much percentage do you think you get?
You wanted a business card? Sure.
Thank you. And your free trips?
The question was, she gets 2% back on her Citi Double Cash. Citi Double Cash is, by the way, a great card for someone who just wants cash and wants nothing to do with miles and points. It's a great card. I have told some people to get it because they don't want to play any of the games of miles and points. However, otherwise, I would say that, so she has what do we yield on her own, and I get somewhere between 5 and 7% cash back on a per redemption basis. What would the business or first class flights that I take be worth the way that I spend it?
Thank you.
Same?
You commented Delta, JFK to Amsterdam, 300,000 points. I had the exact same experience, JFK, Nice, Amsterdam, and I was clicking back and forth to go 340,000, 50,000, 500,000, 50,000, as I kept doing it. Finally, I just took one of the low ones. What's up with that and why does that happen?
So that's Delta.
Thank you so much.
Delta Sky Miles are an interesting currency. So people love flying Delta because they provide a great experience. But they were the first U.S. carrier to make their program what's called dynamic. And so they, of all of the airlines, want you to get the least value from your miles. And so what they do is they peg all of the redemption fares to what the ticket costs. And it changes second by second. It makes it very hard to plan. The good news is that even though they don't publish award charts anymore, if anyone here's from Delta, I'd love to see award charts again, because they don't publish the award charts. Still know that their partner awards are technically on a kind of award chart, and so what you want to do is find the partner flights. Partner flights are where you're going to get the best value. Thanks for asking.
I find it difficult on sites to buy a cheap economy fare, and then upgrade to business or first with points. Is that deliberate or?
Yes, it's very, very difficult. You're talking about-
Yeah, so the question is upgrading an economy ticket to business or first using miles or points. It's not meant to be easy, and every airline runs it differently. So for example, United is going to prioritize their elite passengers, where American doesn't necessarily prioritize them in advance. You as a non-status flyer can get an upgrade to 4Me using the same miles and points. So it really varies depending on the airline. It also depends upon the availability. Each airline is going to release a specific
where are you going on your
seat,
honeymoon?
or specific fare class upgrade. So what you're kind of seeing
Wonderful.
the
Got your
industry
tickets
trend here is ways to override that. United just came out with their points program, Points Plus, where you can
Great.
use more points
Good
to
luck.
override the system and guarantee
You're not
yourself
doing
a business class
17
seat
hours in the
versus
equivalent
waiting
of
in
the
the queue
Singapore
or hoping
first
something will
class.
fit. So that's kind of the trend that you're going to start seeing with airlines. Honestly, I'm not a huge fan. If you're not a status passenger, you don't have elite status, I recommend either going for economy or going for business, but don't hope for the upgrade game. It's
Oh,
very, very
wonderful.
complicated.
It's one of those things that used to be a lot easier. Like
And
decades ago,
better
it
to
used
do
to
it
be
on
a
the
lot
way
easier.
back, because
They're
if you did it on the
very,
way
very
out, it's
restricted
like, how can you top
Thanks.
this?
Well,
So we all travel a lot to foreign countries, we use these credit cards in these foreign countries. And when
Great.
you're comparing
Good
credit
luck and
cards,
happy
you
flights.
mentioned foreign transaction fees. So I was wondering what kind of impact you think that has, is comparing and choosing a credit card.
Sure. Most of the premium cards, so almost any card that's a travel card that has any annual fee, you check the fine print, but most of them today, not always the case, but today will waive foreign transaction fees. Also, Capital One, across the board, any Capital One issued card, no foreign transaction fees.
By the way, I'll just add a little quick tip here for those of you, we talked about foreign transaction fees. ATMs, don't go to a money exchange or any type of service you see in an airport. Take your debit card that doesn't have a withdrawal fee for any ATM, such as a Charles Schwab debit card. Go to the local ATM when you land, just withdraw your currency there, and you'll just pay the market rate, what everyone else is paying. There is no commission on that, so
100%.
everyone needs cash.
Hi there, I was wondering what the redemption values are compared, like if you were to book directly through the bank's portals, like thankyou.com versus transferring to partners.
Yeah, that's a great question.
Comparable? Yeah.
Yeah. So each of the bank points, so Chase and Citi, they have a travel portal, and you can book directly in the travel portal. Depending on the card you have, you get varying rates. Like for Citi, the best you can do is a Citi Premier card, which redeems at 1.25 cents per point, With Chase, their $95 Chase Sapphire Preferred is the same, but if you have the Reserve, you get a little bump and you get 1.5 cents in value each. The answer to that is twofold. One is you can almost always do better by transferring to an airline than using the bank portal. I personally set a floor of about 2 cents in value for every point that I have, and I know that by skillfully transferring, that's what I'm going to be able to do. If you have tons of points, there's nothing wrong with doing 1.25 to 1.5 cents redemption. Just know that in most cases, transferring will get you better value. The downside is that you're going to be subject to availability because you need to find the award inventory when you transfer, so you got to find that first. And then depending if you've got a boatload of points, you might spend them through the portal, whereas if you've worked 3 years to save up 150,000 points, I would just pay cash unless you can beat the portal.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Hi there, I was wondering, about 10 years ago, I had a Delta Amex card. I canceled it after a year once I got my bonus, and the annual fee, which I now understand was probably a mistake. I tried to open it again recently, and I could open the card, but not with the bonus. I was wondering if all of the cards are like that, where you only get the bonus once in a lifetime?
Right, Amex has added that language now, so you can only get the bonus once in a lifetime. There's, some occasional loopholes or slips through the cracks or that type of thing, but in general, it's now once per lifetime.
If you wait, generally, if you've waited at least 7 years since you had the card, you will be able to get it again. It's technically a once per lifetime rule, but their systems seem to go back 7 years. Also, as far as a mistake closing it, the only reason you would want to, I assume it was the gold version. The only reason you want that is if you're using it for the free check backs. Because you'd much rather accumulate a bank point like Chase or Citi or Amex than just Sky Miles. You could transfer Amex into Sky Miles, you can't transfer Sky Miles out.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I was just wondering with the attempts by some of the cards to cause a emphasis on the expensive seats versus the inexpensive seats for usually mileage. I was just wondering for certain types of trips that are like 2.5 hours, which you might do frequently, are cash cards somewhat equivalent to a mileage card?
So you're seeing the
2.5 hour like to Florida.
Yeah, so the trend here is, of course, this dynamic reward pricing, where points and miles are now worth what the cash cost of that flight is. So if it's, I'm just using arbitrary numbers, if it's a $100 flight, maybe that's 5,000 points. If it's a $2,000 flight, maybe that's 50,000 points, right? It sort of follows the trend there. In that type of a case, a cash card can work well. Depends on the cost of the flight. I generally like to get outsized value, and to get outsized value, I need to use partners. So I'm an American Airlines frequent flyer. I've got a couple 100,000 miles in my account right now, not that long probably. But what I'll do is rarely, if ever, book an American ticket. I usually fly either Qantas or previously LATAM, although now that partnership has ended. Any one of their other partners, Iberia, British Airways, and then have a connecting segment on American, but not entirely on American. And that way I can get outsized value, because American, while they still have award charts, they're still kind of playing the game a little bit. So certainly a cash back card can work well for those cheaper flights.
Thank you.
Yep.
I'm trying to go a little bit quicker now because technically we're out of time.
Yeah, she's giving us another.
We take about 5 minutes total, so we'll give quick answers.
Can you comment on United's recent change to spending rather than miles? Is that something to really worry about, or?
So all the big 3 airlines here have done that now. So I would just quickly say, if you join the Miles Talk group, we'll talk more about it, but you can still credit, if you don't earn elite status, you might find another Star Alliance partner that you could credit those miles more efficiently.
Hi, I have one question, but it's kind of three-pronged. How many credit cards, the impact on credit score, and have you ever closed any?
I'll take that first one because I love this question. Assuming you have good credit score right now, 780, 800, 810, something like that, opening one credit card will ding you for roughly, this is not an exact science, but roughly 7 points for a handful of weeks, and then it comes right back. The thing that people don't actually think about is, let's say they give you a $10,000 credit line, and you used to have $100,000 in total credit. You just added 10% to your total credit line, and if you're not actually using that credit line, your utilization has actually gone down, so you can actually boost your credit score by having more credit cards. And as far as closing credit cards, totally fine to close credit cards. make sure you've had them for 1 year first, or you look like you're hunting for the bonus and the credit card might stop issuing you new ones. So always at least hold it until that annual fee hits. You can close a card if you've only had it for a few years or whatever. Never close your oldest credit card because that will have a huge impact on your credit score because they like age of account.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You just answered one of my questions. Now, how do you deal with the charges for transferring points?
What charges?
When you transfer points, let's say from one account to another, or from one
So only
partner to another,
there is only
charging.
there's one case only where you will pay. American Express will charge you a very small fee to transfer to domestic U.S. airlines. So if you transfer Amex to Delta, you will pay, I believe it's 0.001 cents per point or something like that. It's not non-zero, but other than that, there is no fee to transfer.
No, you can transfer from one account to another. With
Oh, you're
airline.
talking about, oh, okay, hold on.
There's
If you're
a lot of charges on
If
it.
you're transferring from your own American Airlines account to someone else's American Airlines account, they will charge you 1 penny each, or something like that. Don't ever do that.
Just book the award out of your account.
Yeah.
You can book it for anybody.
You can book it out of your
Change
account.
fees are gonna still apply in penalties, so hopefully they don't need to change their trip, just book it out of your account.
There are a handful of loyalty brands that will allow you to do free transfers. World of Hyatt will allow free transfers. Hilton allows pooling. But if you ever see that, like an American mile to me is worth around 1.5 cents. I'm not gonna pay a cent just to transfer the mile that I already earned. So yeah, I once wrote an article years ago that said just say no to paying to transfer points.
We'll take the last two, I think, and then we'll
Yeah,
kind of.
and then I'll be, reminder, after the last two, I'm gonna be just right across the hall. And so even if you're not buying a book, I'm still happy to talk more.
Yes, so for the gold that goes.
You speak into the mic?
Oh, yeah. For the Amex Gold that has 5 points, what kind of credit score do they want? And then the other question would be, to boost the non-credit card part of your credit score by, if you don't have a mortgage and you don't have a car, what's the best way to boost that non-credit card part? Like, buy something on installments or something?
No, you don't need to do any. So I've never had a loan on a car or a mortgage, and I have great credit, and I've got about 45 cards right now. So, and what was the first part of that about the Amex?
Well, yeah, like, what credit score are they looking
Oh,
for the Amex Gold?
So no issuer will say you need exactly this score, but for all of the better scores, 740 is around where you're close to where they might not. If you're above 740 and you don't have any other negatives, then you'll most likely be approved. If you're under that, you may or may not. If you get under about 680, 700, then what you want to do is you want to look for a credit card that's for people that have slightly less good credit specifically, and get your credit score up, and then you'll be able to get it. Thank you.
So in the past, I've always consolidated everything on American and through credit cards, and I've been very successful in booking many flights at various class levels.
Can't hear you at all.
Oh,
Just tilt it down a little bit.
sorry. But it seems to me now that, talking about what you were saying about trying to get different cards, diversifying where your miles are, is it because you can now get a bigger benefit by the whole transfer process?
Yeah, essentially it's the transferability. If all you collected was American miles, and there is a flight on Lufthansa, or even on United, or Delta that you want to take, your miles are no good there.
Now, I'll take the converse of that, I would like debating. You can use American miles, I can use them, I know how to use them.
Qantas, Iberia, and everything else.
So if you know the in-depths of that program, I have way more American miles than any other carrier, frankly because I fly them, but also because I accumulate them at a faster rate. There's nothing wrong with that if you know the system, but many people don't know the ins and outs of specific programs and how availability is going to work and the trends. And if you've analyzed that to the point where you feel comfortable, there's nothing wrong with having more of those miles than any other.
It seems to me you still get the maximum benefit for your buck by using the miles as opposed to transferring through points on Chase Reserve.
Well, you're still, to be clear, when you transfer, you're still using miles. If I transfer 100,000 Chase miles to United, I'm doing exactly what you're doing with American, I'm just doing it on United system. So at this point, if you know American system really, really well, and you figure out how to go everywhere you want to go with it, you could totally stick to that. But the reason that I advocate people have more than one
No, I understand.
system is just go where you want to go.
Mathematically, don't you get more? In other words, if you equate it, 60,000 points that you've accumulated on credit cards, right, just from spend, and you look at it at per point, and then you look and you say, I can use 60,000 miles for a flight.
So
Maybe it would cost me more to buy that flight.
No, 60,000 miles, for instance, Chase, if I have 60,000 Chase points, I transfer them to United, I can buy a flatbed business class ticket to Europe.
We're on American, you're talking about 60,000 points, it's 57,500 to go to Europe in business class. So there's no sense in taking those 60,000, converting it to what otherwise is cash, call it about $800.
Well, except if she wants to go to Germany, where there's a nonstop to Germany, now she has to fly through London to use her American points or Madrid. Limited availability in Iberia to Madrid. British Airways will charge huge fuel surcharge. You don't have another option. So it's just, if you can build up multiple, it's options, optionality.
And how do you use AARP on British Airs?
So you can go through AARP's website, so once you log in and you have your credentials and you pay for a membership, there's a link, I don't know where it is specifically offhand, but it's in their travel benefits. It'll literally link